Did you know that some cursed spirits are based on mythologies and urban legends, while others are based on actual gods? In total, there are 26 cursed spirits in Jujutsu Kaisen. Take for example, Dagon had an invisible attack that overpowered even elite sorcerers like Nanami and Naobito, or a curse that surpassed the speed of sound. And what's even worse, there's a cursed spirit that can actually destroy the world. And I'll be ranking all of them for you, from the weakest to the strongest. Some of them are so weak, even the most useless sorcerer in the world can easily exorcise them. And these cursed spirits are the Flyheads. These are the weakest curses, and they're so harmless they're ranked way lower than grade 4. By the way, just so you know, cursed spirits are actually ranked the same as sorcerers, but it is a little different. In chapter 21, according to Ijichi, sorcerers are typically assigned to missions involving cursed spirits of the same level. For example, a grade 2 sorcerer is close to the skill of a grade 1 cursed spirit, which means a grade 2 sorcerer is supposed to win against a grade 2 spirit. So if a cursed spirit is lower than grade 4, like the Flyheads, even a grade 4 sorcerer can easily exorcise it. Now, even though the Flyheads were weak, they weren't entirely useless, because it actually depends on how a sorcerer uses them. Usually, most sorcerers just use these guys to check if non-sorcerers can see curses. But Toji proved that even the weakest of curses could be handy against the strongest sorcerers, like Gojo Satoru. Toji kept many Flyheads stuffed inside his inventory curse and used them like a smoke bomb. This tactic messed with the senses of anyone who could detect cursed energy, like Gojo. This helped Toji stay hidden since he didn't have any cursed energy himself. Speaking of Toji and his cursed spirit, the inventory curse. This spirit works like an infinite backpack that can store almost everything, even one of the most powerful cursed tools that actually killed Gojo, and that was the inverted spear of heaven. Other cursed tools include the chain of 1,000 miles, playful cloud, and split soul katana. I explained all of these weapons in this video. The curse can also shrink itself down so Toji can swallow it, making it undetectable. Gege also explains something interesting about this cursed spirit. In chapter 73, the reason why Geto couldn't absorb the inventory curse is that Toji had already established a master-servant relationship with it. Basically, Toji had the curse trained to obey him like a pet. Also, it wasn't mentioned what grade this cursed spirit was, but looking at the visuals in chapter 73, it seems like the inventory curse might be a grade 3 spirit. And did you know that the level or grade isn't always the main issue when fighting cursed spirits? There's something even more dangerous. It's their intelligence. If a cursed spirit is smart, a sorcerer will definitely have to choose between two options, life or death. Just like this cursed spirit in Roppongi. In season 1, not long after Yuji joined Tokyo Jujutsu High, he teamed up with Nobara to clear out an abandoned warehouse in Roppongi. They ran into this very hairy cursed spirit. According to Nobara, this cursed spirit wasn't that tough and was maybe a grade 4 or grade 3 spirit. Problem was that it was quite cunning since it had taken a hostage. Aside from that, low-grade cursed spirits have some perks over higher-grade ones. For example, they can pass through walls, which they can use for ambushes or quick escapes, which is really frustrating. But there are some cursed spirits that are even more annoying, like the cursed spirit at Yasuhachi Bridge. And just like a mole, it can pop in and out of holes super quickly, making it tough to hit. It's so fast that even when a sorcerer tries to blast it or slice it, it just ducks away and avoids the attack. To deal with it, the sorcerer has to predict its movements and catch it off guard. Megumi eventually uses his divine dog to do just that, surprising the curse and managing to exorcise it. Some cursed spirits are so smart, they can even communicate, just like Kogai. He might have looked exactly like the villain in A Bug's Life, but this guy was strong. Kogai was a spirit who didn't skip any leg days because he had insane leg strength. He also had a jaw that could bite through metal and human flesh. Just like any legit grasshopper, Kogai could extend his abdomen quickly as a surprise attack to stab an opponent. He tried the sneak attack against Yuji, but failed. To be honest, I didn't know grasshoppers could do that. Anyway, Kogai was also pretty tough. When our boy Yuji fought him, Kogai's skin was tough enough to handle a few of Yuji's punches. Interestingly, in chapter 94, Gege explained that this grasshopper could have been as strong as, if not stronger than, a semi-grade 1, even though its rank was actually grade 2. And that there's actually a slight difference between a grade 2 and a semi-grade 1 curse, whether they can use curse techniques or not. This means Kogai might have been a grade 2 on paper, but his power was on par with a semi-grade 1. He just couldn't use any curse techniques. Though he might have sounded strong, sadly for him, he met the MC. Yuji easily destroyed him with a left, right, good night. Now speaking of semi-grade 1, Way back in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, when Yuta was still a noob, he and Inumaki fought a strong cursed spirit. Well, it didn't have a name, but it did have a huge nose and super tough skin. Like when Yuta struck it with his cursed energy-enhanced katana, the blade only made a shallow cut. What's even worse is this cursed spirit could shoot destructive light beams every time it pointed its fingers upwards. EGG also confirmed that this spirit was actually a semi-grade 1 and was used by Geto to force Rika to manifest. But his plan failed, and the spirit was ultimately exorcised by Inumaki. However, this cursed spirit was just one of the many curses Geto had, and it's not even the strongest one. When Geto was still a good guy, he had a rainbow dragon that was probably as big as an airplane. Even though its rank was unknown, it was one of Geto's top curses before he went crazy. The coolest thing about it was its super hard skin, which was tougher than any of Suguru's other curses. It was also pretty quick and strong. It could smash through buildings like they were paper. The thing is, that dragon didn't stand a chance against the OG Toji. And you know what's even more terrifying than this dragon? A cursed spirit that ate Sukuna's fingers. In Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, you've seen that Sukuna's fingers attract many cursed spirits. Not because they taste good, but because of one thing: power. If one of these curses consumes Sukuna's fingers, they evolve into OP cursed spirits called finger bearers. They start off as cursed wombs, and once they're reborn, they're literally so overpowered that some of these curses can even create an innate domain. Not only do they have high physical stats, they're also pretty smart and very cruel, like Sukuna. They're so strong that Yuji was almost killed by one, and another one completely outmatched Megumi, breaking his curse tool and almost taking him out, even though Megumi had help from his Shikigami. You know what? A cursed spirit doesn't actually need to eat Sukuna's fingers to have a domain and curse technique, just like Geto's Kuchisake Onna. And this cursed spirit had a terrifying ability that was actually based on a Japanese urban legend. In chapter 73, it was explained that this curse was an imaginary vengeful spirit with an innate domain and a pact that cannot be broken until the question is answered. After the target answers, depending on the response, she can attack with her scissors, summoning a bunch of them around the target. Like I said, this cursed spirit is obviously inspired by Japanese urban legends. In Japan, Kuchisake Onna, aka the slit-mouthed woman, has a huge scar on her mouth that runs from ear to ear. She's this vengeful spirit who hides part of her face with a mask and carries scissors or a knife. If you encounter her, she will ask you, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" And bruh, trust me, don't mess this up, because here's what will happen. Outcome number 1, if you say no, you die. Outcome number 2, if you say yes, she will finally show her slit mouth and ask again, "How about now?" This time if you say no, you guessed it, you're dead. But if you say yes, she'll cut your mouth to look like hers, and then you die. So no matter what you say, it's you die. But there is one way to survive, and that is to just say she looks average. Like, you look normal, girl. Aside from urban legends, there were also cursed spirits based on Japanese mythology. One of them was Tamamo no Mei Incarnate. This curse was actually one of the 16 special grade curse spirits, but when Geto used it in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, its full power wasn't actually shown. Since it was based on a Japanese myth, I could probably tell you what its abilities might have been. So Tamamo no Mei was a legendary fox spirit from Japanese mythology. In some stories, Tamamo no Mei appeared in multiple countries, like in China where she possessed a concubine known as Daji. Tamamo used her powers to manipulate the king, causing a rebellion that ended the Shang dynasty. Then, supposedly she fled to India, caused more trouble, and came back to China before finally showing up in Japan as Emperor Toba's favorite courtesan. She was very beautiful and very smart, but at some point she made the emperor really sick. An astrologer figured out she was actually a fox spirit in disguise, so the emperor sent some hunters to take her down. After she was killed, her spirit got trapped in a stone called Sesho Seiki, which supposedly released poisonous gas that killed anything it touched. Eventually, a Buddhist monk exorcised her spirit, letting her finally rest in peace. Now, it's possible that the Tamamo no Mei in Jujutsu Kaisen might have been a fox or a shapeshifter, or this spirit might also have had a power that could release poisonous gas. But what I really didn't get was, when Geto was fighting Yuta back in 0, why didn't he use this curse against Yuta? Geto just flexed it, and after that, Tamamo no Mei never appeared on screen. Though at least she got a little bit of screen time, unlike this one, Akuro Otake. This cursed spirit was a special grade rebel spirit, summoned by Kenjaku in chapter 242. Thanks to Takaba, this curse got hit by Truck-kan and exorcised. Or should I say, isekai'd. So Akuro Otake might actually be based on Otake-maru, who is known as one of the 3 great evil yokai of Japan, along with Shuten Doji and Tamamo no Mei. And you won't believe how powerful this yokai was, because it could control the weather, like making storms and thunder. What's even crazier is that he could summon dark clouds over Suzuka Mountain that showered the land not with rain, but with fire. If Akuro Otake had the same power, Tako would definitely have a harder time fighting it, unless he can make jokes out of it. There is another curse spirit based on Japanese mythology, and that is the giant catfish. When this curse goes underground, it uses its curse technique to make the target think there's a giant mouth opening up below them. It feels so real that the target loses their balance and falls over. This curse spirit is obviously based on the Namazu aka Onamazu, which in Japanese mythology is a huge underground catfish that causes earthquakes. The story goes that this giant catfish lives under Japan and is restrained by the thunder god, Takemikazuchi, with help of a special stone. Whenever Takemikazuchi gets distracted or lets his guard down, the Namazu starts thrashing around, causing earthquakes. When Konjaku took over Geto's body, did you notice he actually got way more powerful cursed spirits? Some of them were incarnations of deadly diseases, wielding broken curse tools, and one is even based on an actual god. The first curse spirit was also one of the 16 registered special grade curse spirits, the smallpox deity. This spirit was strong because it could use its own full domain expansion. Mimi struggled to handle the domain's guaranteed hit, which repeatedly trapped her under a gravestone. However, the smallpox deity, while powerful, actually had one weakness. It was dumb. No, seriously, this spirit just acted purely on instinct. It only targeted the enemy with the most curse energy, and with the help of Ui, that's funny, I don't even know how to say that right, Ui, little bro distracted it while Mei managed to create an opening and finally exorcised the curse spirit. Another registered special grade curse was Kurorushi, who was strong enough to participate in the calling games and didn't just manage to take on Yuta one-on-one, but also wielded a very powerful curse tool. Kurorushi could produce and control countless swarms of real cockroaches, and according to Yuta, each cockroach was reinforced by its cursed energy. When these cursed cockroaches ganged up, they could tear through human flesh in seconds. Every time they ate flesh, it triggered Kurorushi's ability to make more cockroaches, and even create a new curse spirit or a new version of itself if Kurorushi died. Kurorushi could even summon flying insect-like curses that carried large sacs filled with a liquid substance. When Yuta destroyed these sacs, the liquid got into his eyes, slightly impairing his vision. What made this curse spirit way stronger was that it actually had a special grade tool, the Festering Life Sword. This enchanted blade mixed life and death. It had 6 firing barrels on the front that shot cursed insect eggs into the target. These eggs hatched right away inside the victim, making insect curses grow and burst out from under their skin. And do you know what's even stronger than this roach? A cursed spirit based on an actual god, a Hindu god, Ganesha. This curse was not only a special grade curse spirit that used concepts to counter curse techniques, but it was also an Asian divine curse used for removing obstacles. It wasn't fully explained what Asian divine curse means. Yet, if you think about it, it's possible that divine cursed is given to curses with godlike powers. Kenjaku used this against some top-tier military forces at the White House. Ganesha easily launched them into the air, and the fall damage did the rest. Even though it's really powerful, Ganesha couldn't handle Yuki Tsukumo's Star Rage. Yuki took Ganesha down with just one hit. In Hinduism, Ganesha is known as the god of wisdom. One of the most popular stories about him is his birth and how he got his elephant head. So Parvati, Shiva's wife, was feeling lonely and decided to make herself a son using clay and ghee, which is a type of clarified butter used in cooking, ghee. She brought the boy to life while Shiva was off meditating on Mount Kailash. One day, Parvati wanted to take a bath and told her son to guard the entrance. Surprisingly, Shiva came back home and saw this kid blocking his way. Not knowing who he was, Ganesha would not allow Shiva to pass through. Shiva, in his anger, cut off the kid's head. When Parvati told Shiva who Ganesha was, Shiva quickly searched for another head to restore Ganesha. The first thing he found was an elephant, so he took its head and put it on the boy, which brought him back to life. Shiva named him Ganesha, which means Lord of the Elephants, and voiced that Ganesha will be the remover of obstacles and always worshipped first in any ritual. There are other unique cases of cursed spirits, like the cursed wombs, death paintings. Yep, Chozo and his brothers were actually half human and half curse. The very first death painting shown in the series was Kechizu. This guy could manipulate his own toxic blood, which poisoned anyone it touched. He usually did this by spewing out blasts of foul, rotten blood at his enemies, burning their flesh as soon as it hit them. His brother Eso also had the same poisonous blood, yet its quality was not the same as Kechizu's. Eso even explained to Nobara that she won't die unless she drowned in it, but it does hurt like heck. One of Esso's tricks was reshaping the blood flowing out of his back into wasp-shaped wings. These wings gave him more mobility and let him attack from a distance. Anyone who came into contact with the blood of Esso or his brother Kechisu got infected with a floral pattern, a curse technique they called decay. Once one brother activated this technique, decay would start spreading, and in time, the targets would rot away, leaving only bones. In chapter 53, after Team Mahito successfully infiltrated Jujutsu High, they mentioned that the death paintings are considered special grade objects. But after their incarnation, especially when Chozo was fighting his father, Big Bro was considered a grade 1 sorcerer. Like his brothers, Chozo's blood was poisonous. It quickly drained a victim's stamina, causing shortness of breath. His poison even disrupted Urame's ice formation technique. When Chozo wounded Naoya, Naoya's body rejected the curse's non-human blood, causing him to vomit. Chozo had a unique ability. He could sense changes in his younger brothers no matter how far away they were. This includes their deaths, which is why he felt it when Eso and Ketitsu died. It also let him see Yuji's death coming, which stopped him from killing his half-brother. As a death painting womb, Chozo could convert cursed energy into blood. As long as he had cursed energy, he wouldn't die from bleeding out. That's why he could literally bleed waves of blood without it affecting his fight or even killing him. One of Chozo's signature moves was piercing blood, a deadly blood beam fired from his clasped hands after charging up conversions. It was so incredibly fast and powerful that it could easily tear through walls. Do you think this technique could have worked against Hanami? I mean, that guy was tough. Remember when Norutoshi Kamo used piercing blood against Hanami? The technique slightly damaged the cursed spirit. If Chozo and Hanami had ever faced off, could Chozo's piercing blood have been strong enough to destroy Hanami? I think Chozo could, but it would be a tough fight, cause Hanami was a tank. When Maki tried to slice this guy with Kasumi Miwa's sword, the blade shattered on impact. Even when Megumi landed a perfect slash on Hanami's leg, it did absolutely nothing. And even with a special great curse tool like Playful Cloud, all it did was send Hanami flying, but he barely got a scratch. Another problem was Hanami's regeneration. Even if this curse took damage, like from Yuji's Black Flash, Hanami could instantly regenerate his lost limbs. And he had some OP curse technique. At first, Todo thought the spirit was just controlling real branches with cursed energy, but it was actually creating them from pure cursed energy. Hanami could also cast a domain expansion, but it wasn't shown in the manga. When Hanami was about to use it, Gojo interrupted. However, Gege revealed its name in the fan book, the Shining Sea of Growing Branches. There wasn't enough evidence on how strong Hanami's domain was, unlike Dagon's. And what if I told you that this curse was actually based on an ancient Mesopotamian god? In Dagon's full form, the spirit was so strong, even 2 grade 1 sorcerers weren't enough to exorcise him. Just like Hanami, Dagon was tough. When Nanami hit this guy with his ratio technique, there was no damage. And according to Nanami, it felt like Dagon had boundless HP. Dagon's curse technique allowed him to create huge amounts of water, and he could summon an endless stream of Shikigami, especially in his domain expansion, Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. This domain was destructive, but it was also perfect for a summer vacation. Even Mahito and Kenjaku enjoyed chilling in that domain. The only mistake Dagon made was underestimating Toji, and he was easily destroyed with pure physical strength. So Dagon's name came from an ancient Mesopotamian and Canaanite deity known as the fish god Dagon. He was known for being the god of bounty, fertility, and vegetation. Dagon might have had an insane domain, but there were 5 other cursed spirits out there who were on a whole nother level. One of them was immortal, and there was a curse so fast it reached Mach 3. Bruh, that's like 3 times the sound of speed. One of these overpowered cursed spirits was Jogo. This guy's curse technique was like a weapon of mass destruction. I mean, Jogo could literally summon a meteor that would mess up an entire city. And just by activating his technique, non-sorcerers would instantly go up in flames. On top of that, Kenjaku claimed that Jogo's power was on par with Sukuna when he had 8 or 9 fingers. And aside from unleashed meteors, Jogo could summon tiny flying bugs called ember insects. These little guys had big stingers that made a loud noise when they hit before bursting into flames. Jogo's domain expansion, Coffin of the Iron Mountain, was like an active volcano. It was so hot that a regular sorcerer would be toast instantly. And since every domain had a guaranteed hit effect, Jogo could use this to attack his targets with molten rocks that would always hit. Even though this domain was insanely powerful, we never saw its full potential because Gojo shut it down quickly. What really sets Jogo apart from the other special grade curses is that even Sukuna, the king of curses, recognized his strength. And Sukuna ain't the type to just, hand out compliments. If Jogo was one of the most highly destructive cursed spirits, the Naoya Zenin was the fastest. When Maki attacked the Zenin clan, she killed everyone and defeated Naoya, while Maki's mom delivered the final blow. Since he was killed without any cursed energy, Naoya returned as a vengeful spirit, becoming even more powerful. He could fly at supersonic speeds, so fast that Noritoshi couldn't keep up. Even Maki, with her incredible physical abilities, was overwhelmed by Naoya's high-speed attacks. He was so powerful, he fought both Maki and Noritoshi simultaneously. It was a 2 versus 1, but then it became 4 versus 1 when Mio and Daido joined the battle. Naoya took several direct hits and still managed to hold his ground long enough to evolve into a new form, becoming even faster, reaching speeds equivalent to Mach 3. He even unlocked the power to use a domain expansion called Time Cell Moon Palace. In this domain, everyone Naoya touched had to move like him, or they would be immobilized for 1 second. Due to the domain's sure hit effect, it could even target individual cells if the target tried to move. The problem was, since Maki had 0 curse energy, the domain couldn't detect her, and that's how she defeated Naoya. Then we have Mahito. This curse was one of the most hated characters, which is kinda ironic since he was born out of human hate. He would straight up mess with human souls for fun, using his curse technique, idle transfiguration. He really did treat people like playthings, experimenting on how much he could warp and twist their bodies, making them bigger or smaller. He even kept tiny transfigured humans with him that he could use in a fight. With this technique, Mahito could even reshape his own soul, which is why he could change his body parts into animal limbs or literally transform into an actual animal. He could even sharpen or harden his limbs to basically turn them into deadly weapons. He would use this ability to heal himself from injuries and even patch up others like he did with Mekamaru. Mahito could also merge 2 souls together, which he called soul multiplicity. This fusion triggered a crazy reaction because the souls rejected each other, creating an explosive effect he named Body Repel. By amping up the soul's energy, he could unleash this devastating attack on his enemies. Another advantage of soul multiplicity was Mahito could fuse souls with weak rejection into a single body, creating a terrifying transfigured human copy of himself. He named this creation Polymorphic Soul Isomer. This copy was so strong it could even send Toto in the air. Then, idle transfiguration got even more broken when Mahito unlocked his domain expansion, Self-Embodiment of Perfection, which amps Mahito's curse technique, letting him mess with the souls of anyone inside without even touching them, because targets within his domain were literally in the palm of his hands. Yet, Mahito became even more powerful when he found the true essence of his soul and did a full-on Dragon Ball transformation called Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Killing. With this power-up, Mahito's body became way tougher and stronger. But then, Yuji punched him with this just one black flash, and Mahito was sent flying. I mean, it was satisfying to see a special grade curse running away from a 15-year-old kid. Speaking of kids, when Yuta was a child, his friend Rika tragically died after being hit by a car. Because of Yuta's strong love for her, she came back and became such an overpowered special grade vengeful spirit to the point where Geto called her the Queen of Curses. By the way, bro, don't get confused, because what I'm talking about right now isn't the current Rika, but the original Rika from Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Rika was a spirit with immeasurable curse energy that could take on any curse technique. When fully manifested, she could copy techniques and easily rip cursed spirits apart with just her bare hands. Even the higher-ups were scared because she could destroy an entire town. Rika could team up with Yuta in battle, helping him move faster by carrying him, shielding him from attacks, and even transporting his wounded friends. What's more, she could unleash a cursed energy blast so powerful, it easily destroyed Geto's maximum technique, Uzumaki, which was a combination of thousands of cursed spirits condensed into a single powerful attack. So basically, OG Rika was the perfect girlfriend. That's what you call a supportive wifey right there. Girls, take notes. However, there's actually an even more terrifying cursed spirit aside from Rika, and that is Tengen. This spirit was not only immortal, but also had the power to destroy the world. Tengen had the immortality curse technique, but she wasn't immune to aging. She was originally a human, and since she failed to merge with a star plasma vessel, thanks to Toji, she evolved into more of a cursed spirit than a human. Tengen was also one of the most powerful barrier users in the world. She was responsible for the protective barriers at Jujutsu High, which changed the layout of the buildings every day. The barriers at Jujutsu High were different from the ones in the main hall of the Tombs of the Star Corridor. Unlike the Jujutsu High barriers, this place was protected by a special barrier that only allowed invited guests to enter. Tengen had an even more powerful barrier technique called Pure Barriers. These barriers helped Tengen control cursed spirits and enhanced the barrier techniques for assistant managers like Ichichi. The barriers protected 4 important locations in Japan: Imperial Palace, Tombs of the Star, Yamakuni Mausoleum, and Mount Hida. With these pure barriers, an even more advanced barrier called the bond barrier was created for the culling games. When Tengen evolved from human to more of a curse spirit, she also simultaneously became capable of destroying the world. Because she was now a curse spirit, she was now also a target for curse spirit manipulation, which Kenjaku could use to his advantage and planned to merge Tengen with humanity, creating a monster called the Merger to evolve all humans, or to end humanity. In chapter 249, when Kenjaku was beheaded by Yuta, he added a rule to give Megumi Sukuna's vessel the authority to activate the Merger. Sukuna, aka the King of Curses, had an insane amount of curse energy, and according to Kashimo, he was like a god. If Gojo didn't have the 6 eyes, Sukuna would have bested him in curse energy efficiency. Since Sukuna had been living for thousands of years, he had a deep understanding of Jujutsu. One example is his skill in creating binding vows, like the one he used to cut Gojo. When it comes to cutting, Sukuna had 2 known slashing attacks, Cleave and Dismantle. Dismantle is a main attack. Cleave adjusts its power based on the target's toughness and cursed energy. These slashes become even deadlier when Sukuna activated his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. Unlike most domain expansions with barriers, Malevolent Shrine doesn't have one. To enhance this domain, Sukuna added a binding vow that creates an escape route, extending Malevolent Shrine's range up to 200 meters. But seriously, what's the point of an escape route if the domain is still basically inescapable? Sukuna is also a mad genius. When he couldn't fully use his Malevolent Shrine, he created an improvised yet incomplete domain expansion. After sustaining damage from his fight with Gojo and Yuji's consecutive black flashes, Sukuna modified the barriers of Malevolent Shrine, allowing him to cast his domain while still maintaining its destructive powers. With Sukuna's modified domain, he could activate Divine Flame, a technique with significant firepower. However, the flames were slow and had a shorter range. To fix this, Sukuna made a binding vow. He couldn't use Divine Flames when he's outnumbered, except when his domain is open. Because of this binding vow, he could amplify his Malevolent Shrine's curse technique, making everything inside it explode with curse energy. That's why Divine Flame turned into a goddamn nuclear bomb. Aside from the curse techniques, Sukuna also had 2 powerful curse tools, Kamutoke and Hiten. Kamutoke was a weapon that could generate lightning. In Japanese, Kamutoke could also mean to be struck down with lightning. The second curse tool, Hiten, was a trident-like weapon. With that, Sukuna wiped out the Abe and Fujiwara clans, the elite squads of their time, during the Heian era. Sukuna was also a master of reverse curse technique. He was one of the few who could heal others, not just himself. When Megumi became his vessel, Sukuna acquired the 10 Shadows technique, which allowed him to summon Shikigami like Merged Beast Agito and Mahoraga. These 2 were among the strongest Shikigami, but with both of them gone, there's a huge possibility that even more overpowered Shikigami will show up.